Hi guys, I'm Saintvicious, and I'm going to be doing the patch 3.15 rundown. So, let's see. I'm just gonna skip the matchmaking and intro things because they're just uh, fixes to matchmaking bugs or whatever, like the where it'll sometimes put you on balanced teams and things like that. So I'm just gonna go like right into the patch notes. Um, some really weird changes, like damage and implication abilities no longer work on true damage. So like this is for Poppy, Sway, and Talon. That's like his abilities affected. What is that for like Elder Lizard? Because I can't think of any true damage that Poppy, Swain, or Talon could do. So I guess it is like Elder Lizard. Our red buff was affecting those abilities. Then temporary attack speed buffs now update champion's attack speed immediately rather than first attack. That is a minor buff because what it's going to do is whenever you use an ability that gives you an attack speed gain, I'd say like I'm trying to think. It would be like Xin Zhao. If you were to uh, auto attack and then like W during the swing, the middle of the swing, or and like a weird part of the animation, you wouldn't get the attack speed bonus on the auto attack for resetting your next auto attack. So that's kind of like a minor buff to a lot of those kind of champions. I can't really think of any of the other ones off the top of my head, but there's a lot of champions that have attack speed abilities like that. Zinza I think is the best example though. New champion says is in this patch. Keep your eye out for upcoming details. Well, he's not out yet, so I'm not going to talk about him yet until they release him. Ari base mana increased to 250 from 230, and base mana regen increased to 7 per second from 5. I think this is actually going to change a lot of the dynamics of a lot of the Ari matchups because a lot of the Ari matchups consist of just pushing her in and like playing safe at a certain points in the laning phase. So and just trying to run her out of mana and control her blue buff. Um, I think this is just like a minor buff to her, and it'll just kind of help her out a little bit. But I don't think it's gonna like completely change Ari, or it's not like a huge buff or anything like that. Fiddlesticks. This is a pretty big change, I think. They reduced the duration of fear in later ranks, and they increased it in the early ranks. So they took 0.75 off of the final rank, which I think is really huge. They also reduced the mana cost at all ranks, and they reduced the mana cost on the ultimate. The Terrify change, I think, is like going to be really big. So I'm trying to think how it would go into Merc treads, because majority of the time, like when you're playing against Fiddlesticks, you have Merc treads or something like that, so or some type of tenacity item. I don't know. I don't think it's like a game-breaking change. I just think you're gonna see a lot less Fiddlesticks support with this. Like his earlier levels will be stronger. Like his level 1 fear, like his level 1 through 3 in laning phase, his support will be stronger. But his late game peeling ability and catching ability is gonna be a lot weaker. I honestly don't know if people will play Fiddlesticks after this. I have to see like the exact duration of the fear and like how it feels in game though. But I think that's a pretty big change to Fiddlesticks. Janna had her mana cost reduced to 100 at all ranks on her ultimate. I mean that's not really that big of a change. I never really felt like I had mana problems on Janna anyways. Lee Sin, you can no longer safeguard to minions to shield them. This is mainly to stop, like really good Lee Sin players would wait until like a cannon minion got pretty low, and then you'd wind up for your auto attack, and they would W to it and shield it so that your auto attack wouldn't kill the minion, and then the minion would die to like creeps or something. So they would use W to deny CS. I think that's the main purpose of that change, though. Alright, Lucian. And oh yeah, it's also really good for like if you shield a cannon minion when you're going in for a siege. So they nerfed it in both those aspects. Lucian, I'm really glad that you nerfed him. I hate seeing him in every game. Actually, I like ban him every game. The base damage got reduced on his Q. It's down by 40 at the max rank and 30 in some of the other ranks, 30 and 20. Uh, and then they also reduced the cast range to match Lucian's basic auto attack range. So this is just really to like cut down on Lucian's poking ability, because right now Lucian has like no weak points in the game. He has strong laning, strong mid game, and strong late game. So I still think Lucian's going to be very strong, but I definitely think that this nerf will like put him a little bit more in line with some of the other AD carries. But I still think he's going to be a very strong AD carry, and I still think he'll be a top pick. Lulu. Base damage increased on Pick's Fairy Companion. So max strength it's 105 from 81. I remember they changed this. I think it was the last patch. They nerfed the base damage on this, but increased the AP ratio. But I guess they realized that most Lulus aren't building too much AP, so they buffed back the base damage values on it. So I think maybe you'll see Lulus building AP more, or I don't know. It's just an overall damage increase. Like it's about 25 or 24 damage increase at max rank. Just that's a pretty nice buff to Lulu. It's more of like the reverting a nerf rather than buffing her. So I think Lulu's gonna be like pretty much where she was last patch. And then base shield strength increased to 80, 120. They increased the earlier ranks on Lulu's shield. That's kind of weird because that helps her laning phase, and I already felt like Lulu had a pretty strong laning phase. And then they reduced the mana cost on Wild Growth to 100. That's pretty nice because Lulu actually does have some mana problems, especially in laning phase or before you get any kind of mana items. Um, these are all just like quality of life changes to Lulu. I've actually been seeing people pick up Lulu a lot more lately, and I think this will just kind of like bring her to maybe a top tier support. Because you can do a lot of good wombo combos with her, and she also has like really good catching potential and CC. She's really good versus assassins, and she has a very strong laning phase, and she pushes very well. So I think Lulu will be seeing more play once people realize how good she is. Yeah, these are changes I don't understand. I guess this is for lower elo or lower ranks. They nerfed Rammus. The W defensive ball curl can no longer be deactivated. Instead goes on cooldown when used. Total cooldown of defensive ball curl remains unchanged. As deactivating the ability previously did not reduce its cooldown. This is so weird because like going into defensive curl on Rammus and not being able to cancel it and to go into like his Q or his ultimate. Actually, no, you can cast ultimate. Because there's a lot of times when like you want to go in with the W Rammus, and then you want to like Q to catch them or to, like chain seize him even harder. And it's kind of weird that they would take that dynamic out of the game. I don't really like that. I don't know. It's gotta be weird. I have to like play with it first before I like really comment on it, but I don't like that change at all. Duration reduced at later ranks on Punching Taunt. They basically gave it the Fiddlesticks treatment. Earlier, the first level is longer, so I guess like maybe level 2, level 3 Rammus gank will be a little bit longer, or better, or it'll be a better gank. But I think in the later levels it'll be pretty brutal nerf. I mean, they took 0.75 seconds off of the CC, and like that's really all Rammus had going for him was he had a really long CC. He didn't really have any like other positive things about him in the late game. Mana cost reduced to 50 at all ranks. I mean that's pretty nice. Like I never really felt like Rammus had like too bad of mana problems, but once you hit some high CDR, I guess you can run out of mana pretty fast. And then they reduced the mana on ultimate, so I guess they just don't want to where you're forced into building mana items on Rammus. I didn't really like Rammus on the current patch, just because like I feel like he has a hard time clearing the jungle, and people usually have a lot of wards down, so it's kind of hard to gank smart players with him. I don't know. I still think he'll be like played in lower brackets, but I don't think he's gonna be that good of a pick anymore. Or I don't think he would ever be my go-to pick. Um, they did some nerfs to Sivir, which I think are definitely warranted because Sivir's ultimate and her passive are like way too strong. See, movement speed reduced now scales to. Yeah, so now her passive movement speed is scaling, and this is mainly to counteract like Sivir in lane. If she starts exchanging with you, she can trail you down the lane because she has that huge movement speed gain. She used to have 50 movement speed increase, which is like nobody has boots during the laning phase usually as an AD carry. So if you get into an exchange with Sivir, like she can get probably like 2 or 3 extra auto attacks when she shouldn't be. I think this is probably going to make it to where that'll be maybe like 1 or 2 auto attacks in the laning phase if she's chasing you down the lane. So I think it's a good change. They reduced the duration on Spell Shield. I think that's because they want it to be a reactive spell rather than like just a straight up defensive spell. I actually like that change because it'll make it a little bit more skilly to use, and it'll still be really good though. Like I think people who actually understand how to use Spell Shield properly will still be getting the abilities shielded that need to be shielded. But I think that the people who are like bad with it will probably suffer from this. On the hunt, her ultimate, the total duration reduced to 8 seconds from 10. I agree with this. Like, her ultimate is probably one of the best ultimates in the game currently. And it's just too good for setting up ganks, too good for like running around as a team, like catching people and running away. Um, it's just like overall, it just gives too much raw bonuses to your team, and at any point in the game when you're setting up for a gank, when you're trying to chase people down, when you're trying to get away. Like, it's just too good. It's too good of an ultimate. Enhanced movement speed duration now scales to 2, 3, 4 seconds from 4 seconds at all ranks. Huh. That's actually pretty big. So that's a kind of a nerf to Sivir's movement speed as well in the lower ranks. So yeah, you won't have that like super increased movement speed for very long until like the later ranks. And the cooldown is increased as well. Damn, they just like crushed Sivir's ultimate. I mean, they didn't crush it. It's still gonna be good in team fighting scenarios, like mid and late game. But during the laning phase and setting up for ganks in the first dragon fight, it won't be as good. Um, so I still think Sivir will be a pretty good pick. I think we will still play her. She's still pretty strong. Um, yeah, I think she's still fine. These are just kind of like nerfs to. They're more like putting. They're more balancing out the abilities rather than and like taking them down from the OP tier and then just putting them to like just good. So I think Sivir's still good. Soraka base armor increased to 13 from 9.4. Damn, her base armor is so low. And base movement speed increased to 340. Thank God, because she's so slow. You never get away from ganks, so she doesn't have any movement abilities. I still think she's not going to be that good. She still needs work. I see some people playing her though, but I really don't like Soraka. I'm not sure she'll be seeing any play. Passive Gemcraft, armor scaling reduced to 20% from 30. That's good because Taric is like two-shotting your carries right now when he gets a lot of armor. Uh, W Shatter, Aura Mount Bug Fix will now give correct amount 12% from roughly 15%. Okay, so the W is giving incorrect amount of armor bonus to everybody around you. Let's see. Oh wait, no. That's percentage of Taric's armor. Never mind. Yeah, so yeah, they just made the aura stronger than it was supposed to be. And then armor damage scaling reduced to 20% from 30%. That's just going to make his shatter do less damage. Then shred base values lower to 5 all the way to 25. Yeah, like that's alright because Taric was like late game shredding like 70 armor off of people, which is ridiculous. And then he would like W for like 400 damage, which is just too much from a support. And the shred armor scaling lowered to 5% from 10%. I still think Taric will be good, but I just don't think he'll be like that unstoppable, annoying piece of shit once he gets some items. Like, if Taric snowballs, he snowballs really, really hard. But I still think he'll be really good. Maybe, let's see. Fix the bug where cast range no longer intended. This is bug fixes. We've improved Caitlyn's running animation. Terrific. Rupture slow after knockup has always been 1.5 seconds till if it's just incorrect. It's not damage. No longer deals for. This is actually a change that. This is one that caught my eye. The Garen change. No longer deals reduced damage to monsters. Still reduced damage versus minions. Are they trying to make Garen a jungler? I mean, I could see it. I could. I mean, his ganks would be probably pretty terrible. Well, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. Fix the bug where Judgment was dealing less damage than intended. I mean, you could maybe play Garen in sort of like that Shyvana playstyle. Like, he actually clears jungle pretty fast if he does not have reduced damage to monsters on his E. I'm gonna try it out, and I'll get back to you guys on that. Add a counter showing how many bonus damage mental star restoring. It can now be cast on enemy. Alright, this is pretty cool. Aegis Zonia can now be cast on enemy minions and jungle monsters. This is going to help Pantheon jungle better because it'll make his block come up faster and also add more damage. And then B, it will make it to where you can do some pretty cool escapes where you can like jump to minions and things like that. So it just makes Pantheon more skilly overall. So I like this change to Pantheon. It's not like a major buff, but it's like it raises the skill cap of the champion. And I really like when Riot does changes like this. Let's see. Yeah, well, that's a bug. Fix bug where the target is moving to spell like a non-projectile hit. Sometimes not stun on collision with terrain. Never seen that bug, so. This is a really big change, and I have no idea why this is like in the game in the first place. Vision items no longer display their current ward count on your enemies on their tooltip display. I thought it was so dumb that I'd be jungling and I could just click on the laner and be like, oh, you have 1 out of 3 wards placed. I'm just gonna gank your lane from somewhere else, you know, or like you could just tell how many wards they have down and like where they put them, and it's just it made it so easy to gank people as a jungler. So I'm actually pretty glad that they changed that. And then they changed Spirit of the Spectre Wraith and Elder Lizard to have the conservation bonuses. I really like this because I think conservation was the best out of the passes for the gold items. Just because you could go do a gank, come back, get your conservation stacks, use them, and be efficient with it. Like you like, oh bam, 40 extra gold, 40 extra gold again, and then you just go do some ganks, and then wait for your conservation to come back up, and then you just go farm out some more creeps. And I think that was like, it just felt like a really efficient way to play the jungler rather than going for these bounty bonuses, which really involve you. You have to snowball to like get the real efficiency out of those items. So I like that. Sweeping lens cooldown reduced to 120 from 180. I like that because it adds more vision control, so it's going to make it easier to close out games. Greater lens cooldown reduced to 60 seconds, and Oracle's lens reduced to 60 seconds. True sight duration reduced to 8 seconds, though. I like this. Just makes it easier to close out the game and clear out wards. Like every 60 seconds is a hell of a lot better than 90. If everybody upgrades to sweeping lens and then into greater lens in the mid and late game, you can close out games a lot easier by controlling dragons and barons and buffs and things like that and catching people out. Scrying orb. Enemy champions hit will be revealed for 5 seconds. It does not affect stealth champions. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the scrying orb. I could potentially think it'd be pretty good. I'm not sure the cooldown on it. I think the cooldown's too long was the problem with it. I think they need to lower the cooldown on the scrying orb a little bit, and then it may be picked up more. Following changes are Summoner's Rift only. Ancient Golem damage reduced to 60 from 65. Elder Lizard damage reduced to 60 from 65. And the white gold increased to 65 from 60. So these are just overall buffs to jungle in general. Yeah, this is just like, I mean, it's not that like big a deal. Like, it's not that like game changing, but these are just nice quality of life changes to junglers on their first and second clears probably. Let's see. Assist gold rewards no longer scale up with the game. Now 50% of kill reward from 50 to 80% of kill reward depending on game time. I mean, that's not that big of a change. That'll just make it to where like getting assist in team fights are just not gonna like give you a ton of gold. I mean, 80% of a kill, getting 80% of the kill gold in a major team fight late game, it just means like one major team fight could decide a game like very very fast. And I think they want to kind of move away from that. And it also makes ganks less rewarding later in the game. Super minions damage boost to nearby minions increases 70% from 40%, and armor magic resist boost to nearby minions increases 70 from 40. I'm really glad they did this change because right now in the current game it feels like, oh, we got an inhibitor down, and it like doesn't do anything. Like the minions honestly don't push that hard when they have super minions in the lane. Ever since they changed how the inhibitors work. But now I think with this change, like there'll be a lot more pressure in the lane, and you have to send somebody to deal with the creeps. So you can actually like take bottom inhibitor and then go mess with Baron or like bait it out and things like that. And it's just gonna make it easier to close out games, which I think is a real problem right now. So hopefully we'll be able to close out games with this change. Sorry, I got the hiccups. All right. Martial Mastery, attack damage reduced to 4 from 5. I think that's a good change. I don't know. 5 AD at level 1 makes it like really easy to last hit, and it just makes your trades like you can get in some pretty crazy trades of champions that have like high AD ratios in the early game. So I'm glad they did this change. And then the ability power reduced to 6 from 8. So they basically gave it the same treatment. They don't want like people having like really good all-in exchanges level 1, level 2 due to these abilities. And I think that's what they were aiming for. And then Perseverance reduced to restoring 2% missing health for every 5 seconds. I think that's really good for nerf to like Mundo and Nasus and those like super tank champions that just sit up top and never die. I'm glad that they did this change. It's not gonna be like that game breaking, and it's not gonna like nerf these champions in the ground, but they're still gonna be really good. And they also nerfed with Tenacious Mastery, and they lowered the range on it. Um, 700 range is pretty short, to be honest. Like you're really only gonna get the major benefits if you're like diving into the whole team. So I think it's still gonna be a really good mastery point, but it's not gonna be as broken as it was before. So just nerfs to like super tanks. Let's see, no other icons updated. Well, that's the end of the patch notes, I guess. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll do another one of these for the next patch, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.